Today we return to the ever-cheerful world of that wacky misanthrope, Josef K. Šlejhar, the greatest pessimist of pre-World War I Bohemian letters, whose work we covered in episodes 183, 213, 232, 238, 254 and 279. We will cover his 1907 From Us 2 stories. The orphan has a farmer sit with his family at home keeping watch over a pregnant mare, who is already fairly well past her time, and in usual Šlejhar fashion, the entire household is gripped by fear as a dark shadow is cast over all of them, the farmer's wife prone to random fits of screaming at irregular intervals. After checking many times, the farmer sees the mare's actually giving birth. As his wife continues to scream in terror in the other room, the farmer lays the newborn colt aside, but just then the mare begins to act strangely. She shakes all over, and her body bundles up like a harmonica. Then as she wobbles on her legs, she starts spewing blood everywhere and dies, leaving her newborn behind hungry and unattended. With the dead body of the mare lying rigid in the middle of the barn, the farmer resolves to actually care for the newborn colt, having an uncharacteristically positive ending for a story by Šlejhar, well, relatively so, given all the blood, death and uncontrollable violent fits of screaming. The unchristened child is based on stories Šlejhar says are told in the mountains by old women, and relate to the haunting presences of unsaved souls of children who died before a christening. It concerns Han, a farmhand on a beaten-down, run-down old farm, falling apart at the seams from sheer passage of time and entropy. She was named Johan at birth by accident due to the drunkenness of her parents, and so they all call her Han. At 40 she appears bony, with giant hands and a head that people derisively mock her for as an old mare. Even the one time in her life she dared go to the dance, she was mocked so virulently, she smashed the whole pub and never went again. She is not sociable, is very gruff and rarely bothers talking to others, and is made to do the worst possible work by the perpetually drunk farmer and his hateful wife. The only rest she has is when she climbs a series of rotten crumbling stairs to lie in a bed beneath an old roof full of holes. And the only time she gets emotional is when they sell off one of the cows or calves, which she almost hysterically refuses to let them do. But the farmer needs money to get horrifically drunk on, so that is that. But then the farmer's wife notices something is wrong with Han, and finds out that despite her appearance she mocks and scoffs at, she is indeed pregnant. She uses the threat of throwing Han out to take all the money she ever paid her for her service, as the farm had run dry, so she decides to steal more than a decade's worth of paltry wages. The farmer is then sad, drinking himself stupid on Han's stolen money, while mocking her pregnancy with others from the village. Han is now working positively insane hours, doing things not even thought possible in a desire to not be chased away from her terrible, filthy, abusive home, but the only one she has. But one morning Han does not get up, lying on her bed screaming. At this time the man responsible keeps yelling at her from outside for not letting him in, so he could get money for drink, until he yells himself to sleep, while she suffers horrible agony giving birth. When the farmer's wife follows the screaming, she finds Han passed out and her newborn lying next to her, so she murders the newborn to keep Han as an unpaid slave forever. Then she forces Han to go back to work a day after giving birth, mocks her for being sad her child died, then throws the baby's corpse into a rubbish heap to be chewed on by mice, before being thrown naked into a hole in the ground, and lying to Han they actually buried it, with shroud and all. But as Han walks around, now horribly shrunken and skeleton-like, she will stop and seem to listen, as if hearing the voice of her departed child.